The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Marcus Chen wiped his hands on the oil-stained rag, the familiar weight of another 16-hour day settling into his shoulders. His small garage sat quiet now, tools arranged with the precision of a man who understood that order meant survival. Outside, rain drummed against the windows while the clock above his workbench showed nearly midnight. The sound of a sputtering engine broke through the storm's rhythm. Marcus looked up as headlights swept across his bay doors, followed by the unmistakable cough of a dying transmission. A modest sedan rolled to a stop just outside, steam rising from under its hood like a white flag of mechanical surrender. Through the rain-streaked window, he could see a young woman gripping the steering wheel, her silhouette tense with frustration. Marcus grabbed his jacket and stepped into the storm. "Where in the world are you watching from at this late hour tonight?" he wondered as he approached the stranded vehicle. The woman rolled down her window, revealing worried brown eyes and rain-dampened hair. "I'm so sorry to bother you this late," she said, her voice carrying an educated accent that seemed somehow familiar. "My car just started making this awful noise and then the engine started smoking." Marcus nodded, already listening to the engine's labored breathing. "No bother at all," he replied, rain dripping from his baseball cap. "Let me take a look under the hood." Marcus popped the hood and immediately recognized the problem. The radiator hose had burst, sending coolant spraying across the engine block. Steam rose in ghostly tendrils as he examined the damage with practiced eyes. This wasn't just a simple fix, it would need a complete hose replacement and a thorough system flush. "You can come inside where it's dry," he called to the woman. "This is going to take some time to diagnose properly." She hesitated for a moment, then stepped out into the rain. Marcus noticed she moved with quiet grace despite her obvious distress, her simple jeans and sweater betraying no hint of wealth or status. Inside the garage's warmth, she looked around with genuine curiosity at his meticulously organized workspace. "I'm Sophia," she said, extending her hand. "Thank you for helping me at this ungodly hour. Most places would have turned me away." "Marcus," he replied, noting her firm handshake and calloused palms that suggested she wasn't afraid of work. "And this is what I do. Nobody should be stranded on a night like this." He began gathering the tools he'd need, his movements efficient and sure. "The radiator hose is completely blown," he explained. "I can have you back on the road by morning, but you'll need somewhere to wait. There's a diner about 2 blocks down that stays open all night." Sophia watched him work with growing fascination. The way he handled each tool with reverence, the careful precision of his movements, spoke of someone who understood machines at their deepest level. "Actually," she said quietly, "would you mind if I stayed here and watched? I've never seen someone work like this before." Marcus appreciated her genuine interest as he worked. Most people saw mechanics as grease monkeys, but Sophia asked thoughtful questions about the cooling system's design and the engine's thermal dynamics. Her curiosity reminded him of his university days when he dreamed of designing revolutionary automotive systems. "You seem to know quite a bit about engineering," Sophia observed as he carefully removed the damaged hose. "Did you study it somewhere?" "A long time ago," Marcus replied, his voice carrying a hint of distant sadness. "I was working toward my master's degree in automotive engineering at Stanford. Had plans to work for one of the big manufacturers, maybe even start my own design firm someday." "What happened?" she asked gently, sensing the weight behind his words. "Life happened," he said simply, focusing intently on his work. "My wife got sick when Emma was just 2. Cancer. I dropped out to take care of them both, and after she passed, I needed something stable, something that would let me be there for Emma every day." Sophia felt her heart tighten at his quiet strength. The way he spoke about sacrifice without self-pity, about choosing love over ambition, revealed a depth of character she rarely encountered in her privileged world. "Emma's your daughter," she said softly. Marcus's face brightened instantly, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. 8 years old and already smarter than her old man. "She's sleeping upstairs in our little apartment above the shop. This place isn't much, but it's ours." As he worked, Sophia watched the transformation in his demeanor. Despite the late hour and the demanding repair, his hands moved with artistic precision, turning mechanical work into something approaching poetry. The work progressed steadily through the night, their conversation flowing as naturally as the rain outside. Sophia found herself sharing more than she'd intended, speaking of her love for travel and her frustration with people who judged others by their possessions rather than their character. She was careful to keep her words vague, never mentioning the Wellington name or her family's empire. Marcus finished installing the new radiator hose just as dawn began to break through the storm clouds. He wiped his hands and started the engine, listening intently to its smooth purr. The repair was flawless, but he ran through a complete diagnostic check anyway, his thoroughness impressing Sophia even more. "Perfect," he announced, shutting off the engine. "She'll run like new now. The cooling system is completely flushed and the thermostat's working properly." As Sophia reached for her wallet, the garage door suddenly rolled open with a mechanical screech. A man in an expensive suit strode in, his polished shoes clicking against the concrete floor. His eyes swept dismissively over Marcus's modest shop before landing on Sophia with obvious surprise. "Sophia Wellington," Derek Morrison said with a predatory smile. "What on earth are you doing in a place like this?" Sophia's face went pale, her carefully maintained anonymity shattered in an instant. Marcus noticed the change immediately, the way she seemed to shrink despite Derek's obvious recognition of her importance. "Derek Morrison," Sophia replied coolly, though Marcus caught the tension in her voice. "My car broke down and Marcus here provided excellent service." Derek's laugh was sharp and condescending. "I'm sure this amateur did his best, but you should have called me. Morrison Luxury Motors would have sent a proper technician and a loaner vehicle immediately." Marcus felt the sting of Derek's words but maintained his composure, years of similar encounters having taught him when to speak and when to remain silent. He watched Sophia's discomfort with growing understanding, pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to fall into place. "Actually, Derek," Sophia said firmly, "Marcus provided exceptional service. His diagnostic skills and repair work are far superior to anything I've experienced at your dealership." Derek's smile turned ugly. "Come now, Sophia. This is clearly charity work. Someone of your standing shouldn't be patronizing these backyard operations when you could have proper service." The word charity hit Marcus like a physical blow, but before he could respond, a small voice called from the stairway leading to their apartment. "Daddy, who's down there?" Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, her pajamas wrinkled from sleep and her dark hair tousled. She rubbed her eyes and looked curiously at the strangers in their garage. "Just finishing up some work, sweetheart," Marcus called up gently. "Go get ready for school." But Emma had already spotted Sophia and was making her way down the stairs with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Hi," she said brightly to Sophia. "I'm Emma. Are you the lady with the broken car?" Sophia's entire demeanor softened as she knelt to Emma's level. "I am, and your daddy fixed it perfectly. You must be very proud of him." Emma beamed with obvious pride. "Daddy can fix anything. He's the smartest person in the whole world." "What part of this story touches your heart the most?" Sophia wondered silently as she watched the pure love between father and daughter. Derek's expression darkened as he watched the interaction between Sophia and Emma. The genuine warmth in Sophia's voice when she spoke to the child clearly irritated him, threatening his narrative of class superiority. "This is all very touching," Derek interrupted coldly, "but Sophia, your father specifically asked me to keep an eye on you during your little independence experiment. He wouldn't want you associating with people who might take advantage of your generous nature." Marcus stiffened at the implication, his protective instincts flaring. Emma sensed the tension and moved closer to her father, her small hand finding his. "No one here is taking advantage of anyone," Sophia said with quiet steel in her voice. "Marcus provided excellent service at a fair price, which is more than I can say for your establishment's last 3 attempts to overcharge me for basic maintenance." Derek's face flushed red. "I think you're forgetting who you're talking to, and more importantly, who you're defending. This man operates out of a converted gas station. My technicians are certified by the finest automotive institutes in Europe. Marcus finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. Certifications are impressive, but they don't replace understanding how engines actually work. Your shop charged Mrs. Patterson $800 last month for a transmission flush she didn't need, then failed to properly diagnose the real problem with her alternator. How dare you question my shop's reputation, Derek snarled, stepping closer to Marcus in an obvious attempt at intimidation. Emma pressed against her father's leg, sensing danger, while Sophia watched with growing admiration for Marcus's quiet courage in the face of obvious bullying. Sophia stepped between the two men, her protective instincts overriding her desire to maintain her low profile. Derek, that's enough. You're frightening a child and insulting a man who showed me nothing but kindness and professionalism. Derek's eyes narrowed dangerously. Sophia, I think your father would be very interested to know how you're spending your time. Playing at being common while associating with people who clearly don't understand your true worth. The threat hung in the air like smoke from an engine fire. Marcus understood immediately that Sophia's situation was more complicated than a simple car breakdown, that she was somehow escaping or hiding from a world of wealth and expectations. Emma tugged on her father's sleeve. Daddy, why is that man being mean to you and the nice lady? He's not being mean, sweetheart, Marcus said gently, his voice steady despite the tension. He's just confused about what makes people valuable. Sophia felt her heart break a little at Marcus's grace under pressure, the way he protected his daughter from ugliness while maintaining his dignity. This man possessed a strength that had nothing to do with money or status, everything to do with character forged in the crucible of loss and responsibility. Derek pulled out his phone with theatrical menace. Perhaps a call to your father would clarify things, Sophia. I'm sure James Wellington would love to hear about his daughter's midnight adventures in the wrong part of town. What resonates most deeply with you about seeing someone's true character revealed under pressure? Sophia wondered as she watched Marcus remain unshakable despite the mounting threats. Sophia's composure finally cracked at Derek's threat to involve her father. The weight of her deception, the kindness Marcus had shown her, and Emma's innocent presence created a perfect storm of guilt and protectiveness. Put the phone away, Derek, she said with the commanding tone she'd inherited from generations of Wellington leadership. You're embarrassing yourself and frightening a child. Derek hesitated, clearly caught off guard by the steel in her voice. But Sophia, your father specifically asked me to report any inappropriate associations during your sabbatical from the company. Marcus felt the final pieces click into place. Wellington Industries, the sabbatical, Derek's obsequious behavior towards Sophia, it all made sense now. She wasn't just wealthy, she was corporate royalty slumming in his world. Emma looked up at her father with worried eyes. Daddy, what's happening? Why is everyone upset? Nothing for you to worry about, princess, Marcus said softly, lifting her into his arms. Why don't you go upstairs and get ready for school? I'll make pancakes in a few minutes. As Emma reluctantly climbed the stairs, Derek's phone buzzed with an incoming call. His face lit up with malicious satisfaction as he answered. James Wellington, perfect timing. Yes, I'm with Sophia right now. She's been spending the night in a garage with some mechanic who's clearly trying to take advantage of her naive generosity. Sophia watched in horror as Derek painted Marcus as an opportunistic predator, twisting every act of kindness into calculated manipulation. Marcus stood silently, his dignity intact but his pain visible in the tight lines around his eyes. Within 20 minutes, two black SUVs pulled up outside Marcus's garage, their tinted windows and pristine paint jobs looking wildly out of place in the working-class neighborhood. James Wellington emerged from the lead vehicle, his silver hair and tailored suit commanding immediate attention even at 7 in the morning. Sophia felt her stomach drop as her father strode through the garage doors, his steel-gray eyes taking in every detail of the modest shop with calculating precision. Behind him followed two security personnel and Derek, who wore an expression of vindicated superiority. Sophia, James Wellington said quietly, his voice carrying the controlled disappointment that had shaped her childhood. I think we need to talk. Marcus stepped forward, his work clothes suddenly feeling shabby under the scrutiny of corporate power. Mr. Wellington, your daughter's car broke down last night. I provided repair service, nothing more. James studied Marcus with the intensity of a man accustomed to reading people's motivations in boardroom negotiations. The garage was immaculate, the tools organized with military precision, and the quality of the repair work on Sophia's car was undeniably professional. Derek rushed to fill the silence. As you can see, James, this is hardly an appropriate environment for Sophia. She's been here all night with this man, completely unchaperoned. Sophia's temper finally exploded. Unchaperoned? I'm 26 years old, not 16. And Marcus showed me nothing but respect and professionalism while demonstrating skills that put your overpriced technicians to shame. James raised his hand for silence, his attention still focused on Marcus. Tell me about yourself, he said simply. Marcus met James Wellington's penetrating gaze without flinching, years of raising Emma alone having taught him that truth was the only foundation worth standing on. I'm a single father, Mr. Wellington. I dropped out of Stanford's automotive engineering program when my wife became ill. I've run this shop for 6 years, and I take care of my daughter the best way I know how. James absorbed this information while Derek shifted impatiently, clearly expecting immediate vindication. Your daughter's car had a burst radiator hose, Marcus continued. It was a straightforward repair that I completed professionally and at fair market price. At that moment, Emma appeared at the top of the stairs again, drawn by the unusual number of voices. She took in the scene with wide eyes, focusing immediately on the tall, intimidating man in the expensive suit. Daddy, she whispered loudly, is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart, Marcus replied, but James Wellington was already studying the child with unexpected interest. Emma possessed her father's intelligent eyes and her mother's delicate features, but it was her obvious confidence in her father's protection that caught James's attention. Derek seized what he perceived as an opportunity. As you can see, James, this is no environment for Sophia to be spending time. A widowed mechanic with a child, clearly looking for any advantage he can gain from your daughter's generous nature. Sophia's face flushed with rage at Derek's continued insinuations, but James held up a hand again. Actually, Derek, I'd like to see this man's work for myself. Marcus, would you mind taking a look at my car? James led the group outside to his pristine Mercedes S-Class, its engine purring with the whisper-quiet precision of German engineering. For the past month, he explained, the car had been experiencing intermittent power loss that 3 different dealerships couldn't diagnose. Derek smirked confidently. My technicians examined that vehicle last week. It's a complex computer issue that requires specialized diagnostic equipment worth more than this entire shop. Marcus approached the luxury sedan with respectful attention, his trained ear already detecting subtle irregularities in the engine's rhythm. May I? He asked James, who nodded permission. Popping the hood, Marcus spent several minutes examining the engine bay with methodical precision. His hands moved with surgical care around the complex machinery, touching nothing but observing everything. After 5 minutes of silent study, he straightened with a knowing expression. Mr. Wellington, when does the power loss typically occur? During acceleration, deceleration, or at idle? Usually during acceleration, especially on highway on-ramps, James replied, his interest clearly piqued by Marcus's systematic approach. Marcus nodded and reached for a specific sensor buried deep in the engine compartment. The mass airflow sensor has a hairline crack in its housing. It's so small that most diagnostic computers wouldn't detect it, but it's causing false readings during high-demand situations. He carefully disconnected the sensor and held it up to the light, revealing an almost invisible fracture that had stumped expensive specialists for weeks. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. James Wellington stared at the tiny sensor in Marcus's calloused hands, his corporate mind calculating the implications. 3 dealerships, dozens of hours of labor, thousands of dollars in diagnostic fees, and none of them had found what this man identified in minutes. Derek's face had gone pale, his confident smirk replaced by dawning humiliation. "That's impossible," he stammered. "Our equipment would have detected any sensor malfunction." Marcus replaced the sensor carefully. Sometimes the most sophisticated equipment can't replace understanding how systems actually work together. This crack only opens under specific temperature and pressure conditions. James turned to his daughter, seeing her in a new light. Sophia had spent the night not with some opportunistic mechanic, but with a man whose expertise rivaled the best engineers he'd ever hired. The quiet dignity, the protective love for his daughter, the professional excellence hidden beneath humble circumstances, it all spoke to values James had nearly forgotten in his corporate world. "Mr. Chen," James said formally, "I owe you an apology. And Derek owes you significantly more than that." Sophia stepped close to Marcus, her decision finally clear. "There's something I need to tell you," she said quietly. "I'm not just Sophia Wellington. I'm vice president of Wellington Industries, and I've been looking for someone with your integrity and skills to head our new automotive innovation division." Emma bounced excitedly at the top of the stairs. "Daddy, does this mean we don't have to worry about money anymore?" If this story has touched your heart tonight, Marcus thought as he looked at his daughter's hopeful face, let us know where in the world you're listening from, because sometimes the most unexpected encounters change everything.